Yes, yes, we're finally here. It's the one we've all been waiting for, the mock draft 2024 from Cleveland, Ohio and London. Welcome in, Mike. How you doing, mate?
Yeah, good, thank you. Yeah, biggest day of the year. The I think for us probably. Uh
Yep.
maybe the Super Bowl preview show. But this this is always a big one. The mock draft extravaganza. I'm looking forward to it. We're gonna have to do some wheeling and dealing this year, I think. It's the top 10's harder to predict than ever, I think.
Yeah, yeah, it's a real good one. Both licking our lips here to get into this. So I'm going to take even picks. Mike will start us off by taking the odd picks. But Mike's also going to take the Eagles at 22, pick for his own team. And then I'm going to have both of the Arizona Cardinals picks. Bit of housekeeping. I'm going to time us. So we're going to have maximum 3 minutes per pick, but we'll probably do quite a few sooner than that, I can imagine. And we're going to be using the PFF mock draft board, which is pretty easy to read, well laid out here. Should be quite simple to follow along with. We've also got a trade value chart. If any trades want to be made, we can just use the point system of the trade value charts to log who's going to trade up and how much they need to trade up if we do any trades. We neither of us. That's the beauty of this. Neither of us quite know where we're going to go, so it's kind of a make it up as you go along and react and be agile on these picks.
Yeah, a little bit up in the air. I think it is in
Yeah,
real life as well, to be honest. I don't think anyone
yeah,
really knows what any of these teams are going to do for sure, apart from the first team on the clock, really. So, I mean, I think without any further ado, should we just get into it?
yeah.
Um, so, my honor here, the Chicago Bears, very straightforward. It's going to be a quarterback, desperately need a quarterback. Um,
Oh, sorry, you got to hit start draft. Yeah,
right
forgot
to
that.
start draft.
All right.
And we're going to take the best quarterback in the NFL draft. Best one to come out for me, probably since Andrew Luck. I put him ahead of Trevor Lawrence. Um, so here he is, the man himself, Caleb Williams. Ah, no, there we go. So we discussed him at length. Everybody really knows about him. Dynamic playmaker, legitimate talent to become a top 10, top 15 quarterback in the league. I think he is in the best landing spot, Tom, of any number one pick for a little while here
Mm.
to come in and be successful straight away. Decent offensive line. Bears have strengthened that over the last couple of years. Decent receiving core. And yeah, I think just the adjustment from the air raid will probably be his biggest challenge. But I think we've seen guys like Kyler Murray and Baker Mayfield have some success doing that, and I think he's talented, more talented than both of them. So I think it's probably going to be a good move for the Bears.
Okay.
Yeah. So what I don't know is how the hell I get out of that. I think it's probably I have to move our faces there. Yes. Okay. Well, that puts the Washington Commanders on the clock, and this is where it this is where it gets really interesting. Well,
Yeah.
so talk about, I should probably briefly talk about your options here, Tom, and what you're thinking about first, and then pick
Well,
your
yeah,
pick.
I'm torn between Drake May and Jaden Daniels here. The rumors coming out of that the Commanders want Daniels. I'm not sure how true that is. They did ship off Drake May's former teammate earlier this year, which is quite interesting, Sam Howell. The rumors were they did that because they didn't want them both in the same room. I'm going to take the player who I think gives them the most potential. I think the Commanders have messed around with quarterbacks who've been like kind of middle of the road for a while, and they want to take a gamble this time. So I'm going to give them Drake May out of North Carolina here, the second QB off the board.
Here we go. Here we go. Drake May. So big, powerful passer in the Tom. As you said,
Yeah, yeah, excellent.
probably
Pretty much prototypical. I think the thing that will split them are he's probably going to be more durable at the NFL level. I know Jaden Daniels putting a bit more weight, but I think if you're looking at a big-bodied Brady Manning style quarterback, Drake May really fits the mold here, and he can create outside the pocket as well. Excellent deep ball thrower, great fizz on the arm. The negatives, as you discussed, Mike, are just the short ball accuracy and the tendency to go missing sometimes in games.
The sloppy footwork, so very loose offensive structure there, where he's not been drilled or taught any 3, 5, 7 step drop concepts, timing, rhythm, offense. It's all going to be new to him. But I agree with what you said. I think the ceiling is higher than with Daniels. Daniels has potential to be successful, with Terry McLaurin in this offense. I could see that working if that's the way that they go. He can be successful in the short term, but I think Drake May gives you longer term success and potential to find a sort of a Josh Allen, Justin Herbert type talent. So I don't disagree with this pick. I think they're probably, oh, bless me. I think they're probably going to go Daniels in real life, but I would absolutely not be surprised if it is May for all the reasons that you've outlined there. So we'll draft him in, and this is really interesting now because this puts me in a bit of a bind here because we didn't really say at the top, but normally when we do this exercise, it's kind of a mixture of what we think is going to happen along with our own personal boards. For me here, the value has gone at quarterback, so I'd be looking to trade down. And I know the Las Vegas Raiders are enamored with Jayden Daniels. Antonio Pierce, the Raiders head coach, actually coached him at Arizona State. He was on that coaching staff. So I think they would very seriously explore this. The problem is, though, I don't think the Patriots are going to move unless somebody comes up with an absolute king's ransom. And I think, judging on previous years, you'd be looking at 3 first-round picks. The Raiders haven't got 3, they haven't got 2 in this year's or next year's draft. They've only got 1 in each. And I think that's going to leave them slightly short. I think Kraft, the owner of the Patriots, is getting really involved. He's only got an interim general manager there, and Elliot Wolf, who I don't think has the authority to be trading down and worrying about and thinking, I've got future job security. I think he's going to do what the owner tells him to do. All of that leads me to believe that if this is how it worked out, they would select Jayden Daniels out of Louisiana State University, and let me just bring him up here because it does merit a little bit of talking about. So, as you can see there, good height and weight. I think that weight has been pumped up a little bit there. I think he's a little bit leaner than that. I think he probably plays at more like 190. As we discussed in our quarterback episode, his ability to run does put defenses in single high structures immediately. So the problem that the Patriots have got, they've got the worst supporting cast of any of these top 3 teams that are taking quarterback. They've got a room full of slot receivers. I don't really know who's going to be running the vertical routes that the sort of Jayden Daniels presence at quarterback would help them set up. But on the other hand, they have got a very good defense on paper still. They've got a defensive-minded head coach, so they should be good on defense. And maybe you can just run the ball with Ramondre Stevenson, Jayden Daniels, give people headaches that way, and play some defense in New England.
I think, that makes the most sense. I mean, for the Raiders, you'd probably have to trade a couple of first rounds and a player, and I just don't know what players they have to give, to be honest, unless they do Devontae Adams or something crazy.
Well, I did think that, but then there's no way Adams would accept that. Devontae Adams wanted to go back to Las Vegas. He's a Nevada kid. It's a dream trade to go there, and I just don't think he'll accept a trade to New England. I don't think anybody would at this point. Like, New England weren't able to sign any receivers in free agency because it's just a wasteland there on offense at the moment. I just don't think they're going to be able to get up, even though they would potentially like to. Got to keep this realistic. It'd be fun to have them go up there and give up 3 first-round picks, but I just don't think they're doing that. So we've got everybody sitting and picking here, which is a little bit unusual. I think a lot of people have a trade by this point. So breaking the mold slightly.
And a lot of people have spoken about the trade here at 4. I have been entertaining that. Obviously, I know I was going to pick the Cards for a while. However, as I said to you last week, Mike, they have 6 picks in the top 100. They're not shy of picks here. There's really no need for them to trade down. They're going to take the best offensive player on the board still, and that's Marvin Harrison from Ohio State. Stick and pick the Buckeye here.
Pretty much
Though some people have the receivers tiered differently, but I think Harrison is the consensus number one. The big body kind of reminds you of Larry Fitz there. The Cardinals will love that and actually give Kyler Murray someone to throw to with a huge catch radius to make up for any deficiencies in the passing game. I think he's going to be a real help to their quarterback, and they can really see what Kyler Murray has now with what should be a perennial Pro Bowl receiver with great bloodlines.
Yeah, no, look, he's my number two player in the entire draft. I think PFF have him ranked. Yeah, they do. They have him ranked two as well. I think he's an elite talent. He's going to help them straight away. I think one thing to look at is in Arizona is the GM Monty Ossenfort loves a trade. We saw him go up and down the board last year, and I could see him pulling a similar maneuver here potentially. Very difficult to game that out in a mock draft scenario. I think you and I would struggle to do that accurately. That's the kind of thing that might take months of negotiating beforehand to set up. But it wouldn't surprise me if they come out with 4 and then go straight back up to 5 or 6 and get one of these receivers to help out the Kyler Murray in that passing game, because they actually were more promising than expected under Jonathan Gannon. They were feisty under Jonathan Gannon last year, so they're not as far away. They're not as far away as some people think they are. I don't think. And obviously,
to 5, and is there finally going to be a trade here, Mike?
Yeah, there is. So
I'll just start.
Yeah, so I don't believe. Interestingly, it doesn't show my team here as the teams interested in pick 5. Apparently, the Raiders want to come up, and the Cardinals want to come back up.
Yeah.
I think the Minnesota Vikings have made it abundantly clear what the plan is this year. They want to come up. They want to come up for a quarterback. It's been an intriguing sort of 3-year plan here to almost put this in action once Cousins was wheeled off into the Atlanta sunset there. So let's have a look at the value chart. I think, to be honest, they only need 1,700 points here. What are Minnesota's 2 first-round picks going to be worth? I think it will probably get it done. 1,250 plus 760, 2,000. Yeah. So that will get that done per the trade value chart. In real life, we're not going to go too ballistic on this for this exercise, but in real life, the Chargers may squeeze a 3rd rounder out of them as well, or something, just because they know how desperate they are. But for the purposes of this exercise, we're just going to do it like this. We're going to have to force that through because the
computer says no.
Yeah, the computer says no. And then on the clock, we're going to draft a player, and he's so far down the board that I'm going to have to search for him. JJ McCarthy here. Let me close that because I can't see the button here. Right. So as I said, they're desperate. They need a quarterback. JJ McCarthy has some enticing tools that you think you can work with, especially a Shanahan McVay type offense, which Kevin O'Connell famously came from. Stay on schedule. We're going to run the ball. We're going to run the inside zone, the outside zone. We've got, I said earlier, Chicago's the best landing spot. I should actually correct myself because I think this is the best landing spot. You've got Addison,
I agree.
Justin Jefferson. You've got the big tight end over the middle, providing he's healthy this year. Oh, why is his name escaping me?
Hockenson. Yeah. And the best play caller as well.
And the best play caller of all the top 4 QB spots here. Agreed. So I think he's in a great position to succeed straight away. I just think the ceiling's limited. You might end up with a more mobile Kirk Cousins, but that's clearly the gamble. That's what they want. It puts them on a rookie quarterback timeline so they can get Justin Jefferson's extension done, make him the best paid receiver in the NFL, keep the gang together, and carry on. Play some defense on the other side. Get Brian Flores some elite defenders to play on the other side as well. So I can see the logic in it. It's very high to take JJ McCarthy. Any thoughts on JJ before we get out of this one, Tom?
No, you summed it up pretty well there. I think this has been in the works for some time, like you said, and yeah, not don't need to labor it anymore. That's a good trade there, and they get their guy.
Okay. So, I think you were looking at a trade for the Giants. Is that worth just touching on very briefly?
I was looking at moving up maybe when needs a quarterback, but this is an interesting one. This Giants organization, they gave Daniel Jones the contract. I don't think they are willing to get out of that and draft another quarterback. I think they're just gonna, they acknowledge he might have been injured a bit last year, and I think they're quite bullish on what they can do with some of these other draft picks. So that being said, another need is receiver, but they drafted a receiver in the first round last year, Jalen Hyatt from Tennessee. And I think they're too proud to go back to the well here and draft another receiver. I honestly don't think they can do it. A glaring need, Mike, is tackle. They gave up the second most sacks ever in an NFL season last year. Evan Neal was having spats with New York Giants fans on Twitter. Absolute mess. I'm going to give them the best tackle in this class by far. That's Joe Alt, Notre Dame. I'm not sure they'll do this, but this is the most sensible decision for them to make here. Protect Daniel Jones and actually give him some support. This, for me, this is a no-brainer.
I love it. Very rare you see this pick made in mock drafts, so we're definitely bucking the trend. But you know what's interesting though? This is both of our preference to build through the lines of scrimmage. Most successful teams tend to do that, and having watched the Eagles play the Giants, and us basically the whole time I've watched the Eagles more or less tear their offensive line apart down the years. They absolutely need help at tackle. And if you look at the height, the weight, the frame of Joe, NFL bloodlines, his dad played in the league for 10 years. He's such a clean prospect. I can't see there being too many issues with Joe at the next level. And it gives them immediate protection, and they can look to the future once they've paid Daniel Jones his $40 million this year. They can get out of that contract next summer and reset the clock with a rookie quarterback in the future, maybe, and start this thing over again. Really, really interesting pick there, and not one I disagree with, I have to say.
Oh, this is interesting now.
Holy Toledo. Okay. Right, the Titans aren't close. The Titans aren't close to being a good team. They got Calvin Ridley in free agency. They got a D-Hop.
Yeah.
They've got a need on the offensive line. But I think the gap between Alt and my number 2 tackle, which is Talisi Fuaga, is actually quite sizable. I don't have Fuaga as a top 10 talent. So for me here, the Titans are taking calls. And there's one particular GM who I think wants to come up to get his rookie quarterback, a receiver.
Okay.
And I think that's Ryan Poles and the Chicago Bears.
Nice.
They're going to jump up here. And I don't know if they're going to be able to do this, but I haven't really planned this. But just looking at how this fell, I think this is a unique opportunity for them to go and get an elite receiver to go to help their young quarterback. So if they want to come up to 7, they need 1,500 points.
Oh, the 1 and the 3 will do it.
Yeah, the 1 and the 3 to come up a few spots seems like a no-brainer for this organization. So we're gonna do that. We're gonna force it. And the Chicago Bears are on the clock.
Nice.
And I think I know the kind of player the player they would target here. For me, it would be Rome Odunze, my number 4 player in the entire draft. My number 2 wide receiver. This makes all the sense in the world to me. I have seen this mocked elsewhere, but so it's not necessarily original by us, but it is something I think I could see happening. So they've got options. DJ Moore. They've got oh come on, the lad from the Chargers, Tom, the veteran.
Keenan Allen. Yeah.
Keenan Allen. Yeah. Keenan Allen will play. Keenan Allen will play on the slot. DJ Moore can play as the Z, and then straight away you've got a made-to-order X receiver in Rome Odunze. It's got Cole Kmet. This really makes it an elite offense potentially now here in Chicago, which is not a sentence we ever thought we'd say. Big physical receiver, but he can also come out of routes smoothly. He can catch screens and take them to the house. All round brilliant player. What do you think of that selection, that trade, Tom?
Yeah, it's a nice trade. I think the trade makes sense for sure. There might be a couple other teams looking to trade up if Rome was still on the board there. So yeah, I think realistically they might have to give a little bit more. If I was Tennessee, I might be asking for a bit more than just gaining a
Yeah.
third rounder. But no, the player makes absolute sense. One of my favorite players to watch this year, as we've discussed, and yeah, that makes that Bears offense, you know, uh, certainly able to compete with the Lions and the Packers and the class of the NFC North. There.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think the Titans would probably ask for like a pick swap in 2025 or something as well, just to sweep the pot a little bit there. But
Yeah,
we're not going to spend hours doing that.
no.
Well, I mean, you're on the clock, Tom, but I've got at least one team trying to get through to you on a trade here.
Which team?
Jets, New York. No, it's your team. Sugar. Okay. In that case,
Yeah, I was looking at a trade up here for someone, but I don't think I'm going to offer the trade now because I'm pretty sure I know what the Falcons are going to choose, and they're not going to get the player that I'm after. So
okay.
um, Falcons, everyone's been screaming about it. Let me just start the clock here again. Um, Everyone's been screaming that they need a defensive line prospect. This might be a bit out of left field here, Mike, but I'm coming in hot. The Falcons have always liked an interior pass rusher. And I think I know who most of the NFL grades as their number one on the interior defensive line here. It's going to be Byron Murphy out of Texas. They go back to the Texas watering hole here for the second year in a row. I think that makes a lot of sense for them. I think a lot of teams will have him rated higher than the top end in the class, an edge player. So I wouldn't be surprised to see maybe like a Dallas Turner go there, but I think this is the pick they're going to make, honestly. Byron Murphy able to get to the pass through the middle. And ultimately, these kind of players are probably rarer and harder to come by than a good edge. And I think we have two of them in this draft.
Yeah. The he's a very diverse player, really is. He can play on the 3 technique and the 5 technique. He can hold the nose as a 0. The big lad
Yeah.
next to him at Texas, Sweat, the big boy Sweat, was not physically able to go for that many snaps. So Byron Murphy would have to play up and down that defensive line
Yeah.
for almost every snap. And he really held his own. Shorter, lighter, with shorter arms than you would ideally want at this position, which is going to have some teams sweating. But everything that I've heard from people that actually can speak to these NFL teams, various podcasts and stuff that we listen to, are all saying that the NFL view him a lot higher than the NFL sort of internet media
Yeah.
view him. And I think he's pretty much a cast iron top 15 pick now in most people's minds in the league. So I can see
Yeah.
why you wouldn't want to risk it, risk someone jumping you if you're the Falcons to come and get him. So that does make sense. I do think they would have to listen to a trade offer from somebody. I just don't have the team right here to come up and make that happen. I don't think. Titans are still on the clock with
Well, I have the
Davis.
Denver Broncos looking to trade up.
What? With what? With them and what army? Who are they trading? They've got nobody. They just got rid of their 6th round pick to get Zach Wilson in. Well, I think they switched it, didn't they? They switched it, but
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I don't know. They could trade up. I don't know. What are you listening to trades though? What's going on there?
no, I know. Sorry, yes, I am. Yeah, sorry. You can come up. I don't believe the Chargers will come up here.
No.
My gut feeling is that the New York Jets would come up here and just make sure that nobody else got ahead of them. I'm thinking the Bills would give up a king's ransom to come up here for Malik Neighbors potentially.
Yeah. Yeah.
I could even see the likes of like the Eagles at least asking the question to come up for Malik Neighbors. It depends what the price would be. So I don't think the Eagles would do that. That's too much money to spend in wide receivers. But what
No.
do you what do you think? I'm going to have to make a pick here in a second. So what do you have you got anything you want to offer?
No, I don't think the Broncos have enough to offer here to come up. I thought they might be in the market for Malik Neighbors. Bills potential, but I don't know. It's a lot to give up. They've got a lot of holes they need to fill in this draft. The Bills. So no, I don't think there's going to be anything. I think you're going to
Okay.
stick
All
in.
right. Okay. Um, so I'm going to pick Malik Neighbors. I mean, the Jets will take him next if I don't.
Yeah.
So if I was the Titans and I found myself in this position, and I wouldn't be able to risk not taking him here. You can't really believe your luck that he's still here for the Tennessee Titans. Malik Neighbors is an elite prospect. He is my wide receiver 3, but I have him as the 6th best player in the entire class. So, I mean, that really, and that's because he has more of a preference to play in the slot. And I think his deployment will be best in the slot. But he's an unbelievable athlete with the ball in his hands. He's sudden as a hiccup.
Yeah.
And more like a slightly bigger Tyreek Hill is how I've described him, heard him described in some circles, which my goodness, if you can get that, even D Hop's contract has only got 1 more year left on it. So
Yeah.
if you've got Malik Neighbors and Calvin Ridley as your long term 1 and 2 at wide receiver, you're set for the next few years. Callahan there as the new head coach, he's brought his dad in, who's a legendary offensive line coach. Maybe they think they can
Yeah.
mend and make do on the offensive line and just do what Callahan saw work so well when he was in Cincinnati, which is you draft the receiver from LSU and worry about the protection later.
Yeah. Yeah. Makes a lot of sense. Yeah. That's
And there's just
yeah,
no way. There is no way Malik Neighbors falls to 10. There just is no way. He's too good.
yeah. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, that Titans offense becomes quite intriguing now. Even if it doesn't pan out with Levis, they have the weapons around now to make it enticing for a free agency move or another rookie coming up. So I like that. It's good decision from the organization there. All right, well, he's gone. So with the Jets, massive need at offensive tackle here, just a glaring need. Their tackle play has been subpar. The tackle play in New York as a whole has been subpar for a while. So I'm going to give them a tackle who I think is the best run blocking tackle in the draft, and a guy who can either play right or left. I think they might be satisfied with playing Tyron Smith, who they got in free agency on the left. So I think he fits in as a right tackle. It's going to be Troy Fatanu out of Washington here, an absolute mauler in the run game.
Oh, you're breaking my heart, Tom. You're breaking my heart.
It's all about getting Breece Hall the gaps there, and then Rodgers can throw off play action coming off of that. I love him. I love this play. Part of the group there in Washington that won the award for the best offensive line in college. He has slightly shorter arms, I believe, but that to me that doesn't worry me too much. I mean, you can maybe shift him into guard, but I think he has a good career at right tackle there for the Jets.
Yeah, I'm just having a look because I thought so. They've got the Jets have 2 elderly tackles there. They have Tyron Smith and Morgan Moses, both signed in free agency.
Yeah,
But both very solid. If they can stay healthy, they're very solid starters at tackle. But what that allows you to do though is kick Troy Fatanu into play guard.
yeah.
And you've probably got a top 5 run blocking guard in the NFL off the bat. I've seen a lot of all 22 of Troy Fatanu in my QB analysis, and he absolutely bullies in the run game. And some ways you can take pressure off Aaron Rodgers is not just by getting him receivers and tight ends. It's by getting that run game going, getting that protection better, especially up the middle. He's not going to be able to move very well with that recovering ACL, Achilles tendon injury, sorry. So
Yeah.
I think that's a great pick. I don't think it's the pick they'll make there, but I think that is probably the pick that I would make if I was them.
Yeah.
Oh, goodness.
Chargers back on here with a lot of needs.
A lot of needs. A lot of needs. Okay. I think I was thinking about potentially trying to drum up a trade down here, but again, another one just to keep buying assets. But you know what? I think at some point they just have to start taking players, and they have quite a dire need along the offensive line. This particular player was recruited by John Harbaugh to play in Michigan. He opted against that, chose to take his talents to Alabama, and he is beloved in the NFL more than he's beloved by the internet and draft media. It is J.C. Latham
Nice.
at University of Alabama, big physical mauling run blocker. And as we know, Jim Harbaugh is going to run the ball 60% of the time. So if you want to do that, you want to get probably, along with Fatanu, the best run blocking guard tackle in the class, can also play guard. So if he initially struggles because of the slightly slow, ponderous feet that he has, less than ideal pass sets that he plays with, if he struggles initially, you can kick him inside to guard, really play some nasty mauling football. And I think if he's there, I don't think Harbaugh would want to. I think Harbaugh has a big say on personnel. And I don't think he'd want to risk losing out on Latham here. So I'm going to take J.C. Latham out of Alabama.
Yeah, that's a really nice decision there. Yeah, enjoyed watching some of his highlights. He's a big man. You can really get after it. I think with some good coaching, he'll be a very solid right tackle there, opposite the big fella. What's his name? Stanley, not Stanley. Rhett Slater.
Slater. Rashawn Slater. Sorry, I didn't know. Yeah.
That's very enjoyable. Yeah.
Right. Well. So we've got a few different things happening here, Tom. Well, sorry, Denver Broncos are on the clock, one of Tom's teams. So I could let you go first. Is there a player that the Denver Broncos are absolutely in love with? They're not listening to offers, they're just going to take here, or are they listening?
No, definitely want to trade this one down. Definitely. Okay. Too many needs.
You're going to have to bear with me just for a second because I need to have a look at what my options are here.
Bit of a run on tackles early on here. And then also, is there a receiver anyone wants to trade up for? Maybe A.D. Mitchell.
I think it's a bit rich for Mitchell.
Mm.
I think potentially here, I think I'm going to come up here. I'm going to come up here with the Cincinnati Bengals are interested. They want to talk to you. So I'm assuming you're happy to drop down to 18.
Yep.
Yeah. So we'll bring Cincinnati onto the clock here. And I think if Cincinnati, their first rounder to come up is 900. I'll need to put them in here. Otherwise, I'll never be able to figure out what I'm doing. Please bear with viewers and Thomas.
Yeah, 900. Oh, it's not too much to go up.
No, it's this second rounder here. I think.
Yeah,
I think Denver would be, because I think Denver here would play the chess match where they say, well, Brock Bowers is on the board.
Yeah.
Sean Payton loves tight ends and would be able to utilize a tight end in his offense off the bat. So I think they're saying you've got to really sweeten the pot here to make it worth it. The Bengals say, fine, have our second rounder.
Yeah.
To come up to 12. Oh. There it is.
Yeah, good.
So the Bengals are on the clock. And the reason the Bengals have done this is because they want to draft Brock Bowers. So here he is. You could have gone tackle here. I thought about it for a split second, but I think they'll go with Bowers. I think they're only going to get one more year out of T. Higgins, and Bowers can play in the slot for them for a year while Higgins is on the outside and Chase is on the other side. He gives you some versatility, as we spoke about in our receiver podcast the other day. He can play inline, although he isn't really. at Georgia, he wasn't really used down the field from an inline position. He was more, they threw screens to him from the inline position. So,
Yeah.
but you know what? Off the backside of some of those zone running concepts, play action, little flood, chuck it to Bowers on underneath and let him work, bully people. This is higher than I would take Brock Bowers as a decision maker, but I don't believe he'll make it out of the top 15 in this year's draft. I think he's viewed as too special of a talent, and I think there's a really natural fit for him. And then when Higgins leaves, he just becomes your number 2 option with Chase in that passing game.
Yeah. Yeah, sounds good. I do think they want him. So that makes a lot of sense.
All right. So just a couple of trades here to wet everybody's whistles.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie to you here. I'm listening to trade down options. Do you have anyone that wants to come up for a tackle potentially?
No, we've seen 3 go. I'm not too impressed with what's remaining here at 13.
Okay. Right. In that case, then, I think a small trade down would be of interest to the Raiders here, and then they can just keep an eye on what's happening once they've traded down. So I think Howie Roseman gets on the phone here. I think he's got his eyes on the prize here, and he's got a position that the Eagles can potentially start the trade run here. Start the corner run here, a position of dire need in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
So I think we're going to do a trade here. We're going to put the Eagles on. And I think Howie would do this. I think this is absolutely within. You've got 50 and 53, 2 second-round picks right next to each other. And I predicted last year we'd go up for Jalen Carter. That came true. And I think, again, the rumblings are that he's more than open to coming up if the right player is still on the board. I think he would take Quinyon Mitchell here.
There we go. I knew it was coming.
In order to get ahead of the Colts and also the Jags, who are almost certainly going to be in the defensive back market. So the Eagles come up and take the most talented corner in the draft for me. Long, physical, man-to-man corner that can play in this in the Vic Fangio system. There are some man-to-man. There's some match zone. And I think he likes these longer, leaner prospects at corner who can also tackle and play physical and blitz. I think he brings a skill set where you could also play him as like a third safety as well in some looks if you want to mix things up. I think he's a versatile player. What do you think of that, Tom?
Yeah, excellent in press coverage. Really like the way he broke up passes. Really like the fluidity in his game. And most people's standout corner. Lovely. He's a Mac guy. Could be one of the greatest Mac players we see. Just the tackling wasn't quite there for me, but that's not going to deter someone from training up for his coverage skills from what we know in the NFL.
Yeah. Okay. Brilliant. So I appreciate all of that. Took a little bit of time. I had to think on my feet a bit there, but those are both.
No, that's good. We just hit 3 minutes on the pick now, so there we go.
They're both scenarios I could see happening. So then they both came up. I didn't expect them both to be there. So that puts you on though with the Saints.
Good. Well, this makes things quite easy for me. I'm simply just going to take what I would consider the NFL as the best edge rusher still on the board, and that's going to be a Dallas Turner from Alabama here. Give the Saints some much needed firepower there for Dennis Allen to continue to call his defense that he wants and make this a defensive heavy team. See how it goes with the quarterback and roll with that for now. They can always address quarterback in later drafts if they want, but I think he's pretty happy here to get this a pretty good pass rusher. You can't go wrong with a pass rusher out of Bama. I think he can pretty much play 3 downs for them. Not bad defending the run as well, and gets after the quarterback. So I think this is a no-brainer for Dennis Allen here.
Yeah, interesting one. Turner not quite viewed in the same category as Will Anderson was last year, and nowhere near the same amount of power or stoutness against the run. But
Yeah.
sort of bendier, leaner type that's going to really go round the edge almost every time. At the moment, you might develop counter moves, obviously, in the NFL. So I think that is going to push him down into the teens. The only spot for him in the top 10 would be Atlanta. So I think it makes sense that he ends up here. Yeah, I mean, the Saints need everything. They're a weird team. They're picking in the middle of the first round, but to be honest, I think they're a worse team than that on paper. So
Yeah.
they can reinforce almost everywhere. So that makes perfect sense to me that they would pick up an edge rusher here. Cameron Jordan coming to the end of his time as well. Legendary career for the Saints. So defensive end. So that makes some sense there as well. You can mentor Dallas early on in the league, maybe teach him some counter moves to that speed rush.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, pretty regulation there for the Saints. Now here, I mean, top three receivers are often your top corners off the board, Mike. So this is an interesting one.
Yeah, it is interesting. The Colts, I think, would really look at a corner, and they would really look at receiver. Obviously, those are their needs, but I don't know. What we know about the Colts at this point is they like big, fast, strong guys.
Yeah.
I think they've even been as bold as to say that in press conferences before. Chris Ballard has said that before in press conferences before previous drafts. He just likes big. It's not very complicated drafting. You just get the big, strong, fast guys.
Yeah.
So for defensive back, that would put Cooper DeJean in there.
Oh yeah.
As a potential for his size and physicality. But if I'm also aligning this with who I would pick and who I have on my board here, I think that would really set them up nicely to draft Brian Thomas Jr.
Nice.
Out of LSU. Some people will say, "Oh, is he more similar to Pittman, who they've already got there?" But I disagree. I think Pittman's can work inside outside as more as a Z. He doesn't really take the top off as much as most people think. And you've got Josh Downs from last year, who's a great little slot receiver picked up. What this guy is an absolute greyhound, electrifying on all 22. The 0 to 60 is right up there with Malik Neighbors. He just doesn't have the route running polish yet. But Anthony Richardson's got one of the biggest arms in the NFL, so I'm not sure you necessarily need polish when the defense is going to be playing single high man coverage to stop Richardson running the football, and you just bombs away to Brian Thomas down the sideline. I think Sean Steichen knows how to use this kind of frame, having had oh, for goodness sake, I can't think of the receivers that the Eagles have got now. What is wrong with me? So
Devonta Smith.
Devonta and the AJ Brown, for God's sake,
Yeah.
AJ Brown. There's too many names in draft season. I lose track of my own team's players. Having seen this big-bodied vertical receiver in AJ Brown, I think he knows how to utilize someone like this. So this offense would really go with Brian Thomas Jr. in the fold here. So I think that's...
Yeah, I like that. I think you've got to give the young quarterback as much weaponry as possible, and that's a very smart decision there organizationally. They usually make good picks, the Colts, and that seems like a nice one, perfectly in the hole there for me. Cool. Right, brings me on to the Seahawks. Now, this is interesting. Needs here, we've got guard, edge, linebacker, safety. Yeah, I'm going to give him what I think is what is my favorite interior defensive lineman. And it might be a bit high, but I think he's a perfect Seahawks player. It's going to be a Johnny Newton here from Illinois. I think the Seahawks are glad he's fallen there, to be honest. I think this could be a guy who's very highly rated in NFL circles. Yeah, just an absolute pass rush legend from the inside, disrupts games and has the ability to take games over. The size really isn't that much concern with me. He played over 300 pounds most of his career. So the comments on size, I don't really get too much. And I think he's a very strong guy, and his pass rush ability from the interior makes him a highly touted guy for the Seahawks, who with that Mike McDonald defense wants some guys like this who can make them pretty stout up the middle, build from the middle up, and also move them around on that line. He played a number of snaps at 5 technique out on the edge there. And it was able to really bend and get around and speed rush the quarterback, which is pretty insane and what Mike Macdonald would want. So I think that's a perfect fit there.
Yeah, there's going to be Seahawks fans up in arms, wondering why you wouldn't take a guard or a tackle here. But I think the identity of the Seahawks, they want to rebuild that defense. They got the best young defensive coach in the NFL to replace Pete Carroll. I think they gave him some weapons, right? And then you go back and you can address offensive guard as the Seahawks have always done over the last 10 years in the later rounds. So I think that's probably what they'll do. They don't
pair him up with his former Illinois teammate as well, Witherspoon there. I'm sure there's some rumblings there from Witherspoon about how good he's been, played on a legendary defense there in Illinois. So, yeah.
I like that. I like that a lot. Right. The Jaguares. Holy Toledo. Well, they could do all kinds of things here. Again, this is another team to me that's sneakily rather bad. I don't think
you really don't like the Jags.
I just don't think they're. Just looking at their interior offensive line options, what's left at tackle. Oh yeah, okay, all right. This is pretty straightforward then for me. I know what I'm going to do. So, yeah, they need help. They need help on the offensive line. It's not been great. They need help in the defensive backfield. They need help on the defensive line, despite using a #1 overall pick on a defensive lineman. But was it #2? I forget. Anyway, Talise Fuaga, I don't think is going to fall this far. And I think if he did, you've seen Coach Peterson has seen his time at the Eagles and how that Eagles offense ran through the offensive line when he won a Super Bowl there. I think he knows. You bring Fuaga in, you play him at tackle at the start of minicamp, and if you have any concerns about his pass blocking, you move him in to become what is probably going to be an all-pro offensive guard straight away. Fuaga is the kind of arse kicker every NFL team wants in the trenches. I think that kind of sums it up for me. Bring back some personality to this Jags team. Nobody knows what they are. That defensive swagger that they used to have is gone now. Nobody really knows what this team is anymore. And let's bring some identity back. Let's kick some ass on the offensive line and stop Fuaga's fall here. Because I think there'd be teams in real life. There'd be teams trying to come up here to take this player. But for me, I think the need is too great. In Duval County, I think they need somebody like this.
Yeah, that's good. A lot of mocks have got them taking corner, but I think the value there is much higher at tackle. And that would make sense. I mean, I hope they wouldn't take the cornerback who's mocked to them, but who knows? That's the tackle there, and makes the most sense to me. It's a good pick.
I've got a team here, Tom. I've got a team that would come up here potentially, just to make sure they got their man. Just deciding if I would pull the trigger on this. Are you adamant you're sticking and picking
here? It depends. It depends what you can give.
Good answer.
Because I think I like my chance to get a quarterback now, but I would also be interested if I can get a few more picks in this draft. The Broncos light on picks in this draft.
This is the problem with Vegas's strategy of moving down, because if you go below the Broncos have then got you by the proverbial testicles. So where are you sat now? You're at 18, aren't you? So we need 900 points to come up here.
Ooh. So you have to give probably a second round of next year, as well as a second round of this year, and then maybe something else.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to be worried. I mean, are the Raiders worried one of those teams in the middle is going to take a QB?
No, they're worried the Broncos are going to take it at 18. That's what they'd be worried about. So they're essentially, this is an interesting exercise. This goes to show that in real life, I think the
Yeah,
Raiders may have to just take their quarterback here at 13 rather than get below Denver.
yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, because I
If they get
and
below
divisional
Denver,
rival, I don't think the divisional rival is gonna pull the trigger on that.
no, you're right, they wouldn't. So I think the Raiders politely inquire here, and I think you're right. I think you would say, well, if you're going to give me 3 first-round picks or something ridiculous, then yeah, we'll do it.
Yeah,
Otherwise,
yeah,
you can go to hell.
yeah.
So the Raiders are just going to have to sit here and sweat. What would you like to do? I haven't got any other teams that want to come up. I mean, the Bills for me, I think, would be a contender to come up for Adonai Mitchell here just to make sure they get him. But to be fair, I don't think a lot of these teams ahead of the Bills are going to take receiver.
No.
And yeah, so yeah, go on. Well, I think it's your pick here.
Yeah, well, we've got to give him the best quarterback that we've got left on our board. It's going to be Penix.
Shit.
Now,
Yeah.
this is interesting because I mean, a lot of people think the Broncos actually favor Knicks more, but I don't know. We really don't know how they rate these guys. Maybe because Knicks could be a more of like a get in line kind of guy for Sean Payton, but you got to take the best prospect left here, and that's Penix. Give him a chance to win some shootouts in that AFC West.
Yeah. Prototypical size, plays from the from the pocket as a quarterback in a manner that you have to in the NFL. And we've seen him do it in college. So I am surprised people have kind of knocked him for not being that expansive and playing brilliantly outside of the pocket when everybody knows really you primarily win from inside at the NFL level. Given even though he's not that versatile, he actually had the lowest sack rate of any team. So he knows how to get rid of the ball and protect himself, which I've heard Joel Klatt described Bo Nix as being good at doing that. I've seen Bo Nix take a lot of hits down the years. I'm not sure he is the best at protecting himself. I think the stats bear out that Michael Penix Jr. is. And he has to be because of that injury record, and that's the only downside. That's probably why he's fallen down here. Otherwise, with the production, he's a great talent, and that is a huge upgrade at quarterback for the Denver Broncos over Russell Wilson, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Wonderful throw of the ball. Big game experience there, so you don't have any qualms at all taking with the 18.
West Coast guy, you know. I mean, I know Colorado's not on the coast, but it's not too far for him to go. And you know he can play in bad. You know he can play in bad weather as well, which is interesting as a Broncos fan. You want to be able to see that from your QB.
Yeah,
very interesting. I like that pick. That puts the Raiders fan base in utter uproar here. But that does also put me on the clock. Interesting, they've got quarterback. This is a need here. Ooh, for the Rams, go and take Bo Nix here. That would really shake them up, wouldn't it? That would really shake. Put the cat amongst the pigeons here. I just want to double check. What is left at tackle. Oh yeah, you know what? I think they would do that. Yeah, I think they'll do that. I'm gonna take Fashanu here for the Rams. A bit more finesse. Not a. I wouldn't say he's a natural pass blocker, but he has got incredibly quick feet, as the description says here, and he moves like an elite athlete. He had a much better season in 22 than he did in 23. But I think with Sean McVay, you think you've got the ability to get him in there, coach him up, immediately goes to left tackle probably for them. And in the last, I think 10 years, they've taken an offense. I can't remember what the stat was. Most of their high picks, I appreciate they haven't picked in the first round very much, but most of their high picks have been on offense, and I think that trend continues here. And I think Fashanu's suffered enough. I think he's dropped far enough here to not to 19.
Yeah, I think so. He could have come out last year and been highly rated, opted to play another year and try and perfect his game a bit more. I think he's annoyed to be, the fifth tackle off the board. I think that would annoy him. He's probably, he could definitely go as high as 9 or 10, I think. But That's yeah, really nice to protect Stafford in the twilight years there, and just give him every chance to win now again. That's a really solid pick there. No issues or concerns with that at all. How that's going to pan out, I think he's going to be a really solid player. Cool.
Nice.
So I'm on to the Steelers.
Yep.
And they need a center, but there's still a tackle here who I think the Steelers will like. I'm really unsure about this.
Oh, I know what you're thinking. I know what you're thinking. And
I feel
think
like
I think you're deciding between these two names, if I'm honest, because Barton is going to
yeah,
be a center or a guard at the NFL level and a very good one. And the NFL
yeah,
loves him. The NFL has him. I think he's going to go in the top 20 in real life. I think we're undervaluing him slightly.
yeah, we might be, yeah, and he has got size, but the guy above him is an absolute monster, and
Yeah.
I just see them wanting to maul the Ravens, and the Browns and some of these defensive line. Like he would destroy a Browns defensive line. So I'm going to give him Mims the tackle. I think that's just
Yeah.
an
Great pick. Great pick. And I think this is something they absolutely would do too. And I think we need to start. These offensive linemen are going to fly off the board. I think people that are
Yeah.
new to the draft or maybe don't know a lot about offensive line play might be shocked how many of these guys are going to go. But anyway, tell us about Mims. Sorry, tell us about Mims.
Yep, I haven't looked into him too much. I just know he's a huge man. He's quite raw still, so they're going to work on him. But I think the Steelers will relish that challenge. And as we see, the only 682 snaps over the past couple of years, biding his time at Georgia. So there's absolute potential there. And I think just the way he can get in the run game, they really want to employ a run first system there for Fields or Wilson, whoever's going to start to throw. And I think he's perfect for that on the outside, just absolutely opening some gashing holes there for them with his size and strength.
Yeah. And one thing I really liked what you said was maul the Ravens. Because
Yeah,
the Ravens, they've got Ogba. I'm just looking at their depth chart here. They've got a bit light on the edge, the Ravens, even though they are effective. They're a very effective defensive team. They have got a little bit light on the edge there. And I
yeah,
think with the boy they took at tackle last year out of Georgia and Mims, the two Georgia Bulldogs on the outside there, you could really start to stretch that defense on the edges of the Ravens and you play the physical football that we know Mike Tomlin wants to play there.
yeah.
I think that's a really interesting call. So that brings up the Dolphins. I think they're happy sitting and picking here. I think they'd have been very interested in either of the defensive tackles. They've got a need there with Christian Wilkins heading off in free agency. I think they'd have looked at Jason Newton if he'd been there. But as things happen, they lost a guard and a center in free agency. So I think they take what I believe the consensus highest ranked interior player purely. They've got him listed here as a tackle, and in fairness, he did play left tackle for Duke last year. But I think the NFL view Graham Barton as the best guard / center prospect behind probably Fatanu and Fuaga. He is as you can see there, really good, real good size, 6'5", 314 pounds. Short arms and more of a skill set that's likely to suit the interior. As it says here, he had to play tackle because basically Duke was so bad up front that they had to move him from center. But he'd immediately come in and give that zone running game a dynamic center, get up to the second level, really more people there in the McDaniel scheme. And I think
They need to get a bit meaner, I think, on their approach. Yeah, a bit less fair weather.
Yeah, and I think that's a really good pick for them. I just think that really solidifies that line. So I really like that for them. And yeah, they've done the classic Ravens maneuver there, which is just sit and wait for a good player to fall to you at 21. So good result there for the Dolphins. Don't need to talk about that one too much. So we're in a quandary here for the Raiders.
Is it my pick again? Yeah.
No, it's me with the Raiders because I came down from 13 to 22.
Yeah.
You've got to trade around more, Tom, because then you'd get picks bunched together. Uh, ba. Okay, all right. I think what would be fun here. Um, I think they could go one of two ways here. I think Antonio Pierce would probably look to take the best defender available right now,
Yeah.
and then maybe look into Bo Nix at the top of the second round, given their lack of quarterback options.
Hmm.
So I don't think they would be taking Bo Nix here. I'm going to take uh, a West Coast guy, my number one rated defensive edge player in the whole draft, and that's Laitu Latu. To go opposite Max Crosby and to go with Chris Wilkins on the defensive line. That
Oh,
makes that front in Las Vegas absolutely formidable there for Pierce. They can just sit back in zone coverages and just harass people with the defensive line here. Liatu, not the best athlete, had a serious, almost career-ending neck injury, but he's come back from that, played 2 straight years, and he plays like a pro. He's got a range of pass rush moves, unlike any player we've really. Maybe Jalen Phillips a couple of years ago was really polished as well, but I think Liatu is right up there with him. Keep him on the West Coast, and let's get after some quarterbacks here.
yeah. Yeah, he'd love that. And yeah, that's actually turned out pretty well for the Raiders, getting the best pure edge rusher at position 22. That's pretty crazy.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's good value in the end, even though they'd have liked Penix, I think. And I don't, yeah, I think in real life they could have to take him at 13 if they want him. But yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
that'd
Okay.
be interesting. All right,
Well,
so
you're on the call again.
I'm on the clock again. Sorry. Uh, so the Chargers here, they got a mauler on one side in JC Latham. And they come back, they find themselves here thinking, you know what, this defense wasn't very good either, to be honest.
Yeah.
And there's a player here that has given the Big Ten a really tough time the entire time that John Harbaugh was in the Big Ten with Michigan. And we'll get him in here. We'll draft him. We'll draft Cooper DeJean at 23.
Excellent.
And we've got ourselves a really interesting defensive backfield now here as the Chargers. Cooper is an interesting player, as you highlighted the other day, and I'll let you speak about him more because you've watched him more than me. But I think they might start him in training camp on the outside, and then if it doesn't work, they can play him as the star player. They can play him as a safety. But I know he's going to come down and thump, which Harbaugh will love, and he brings you immense value in the return game as well. And Big Ten bias, I think, here will potentially play a factor if he's still on the clock at 23.
Absolutely, yeah. That's a perfect pick there for Harbaugh. He played inside and outside. I had him as my second hybrid, so a slot / nickel, which I think is his best position. I think they'll try him outside. Did struggle against the deep ball sometimes. The lack of play speed out there got him beaten over the top. But in this division, there's not too many guys that will take the top off you. I'm just thinking Devontae Adams for the Raiders. The Broncos don't have many deep ball threats. They traded away Jerry Jeudy, and the Chiefs obviously don't play that way. So I think it's a really good fit for the division. He can help in run support and in a zone scheme really come into his own here, and that's a really good landing spot for him.
Well, in the age of positionless defense as well, you think about him and Derwin James just roaming around back there. You don't know who's playing center field, who's maybe dropping in. Maybe someone's playing as a nickel. Maybe one of them's blitzing and then drops into coverage. It causes people real issues, and that give Patrick Mahomes some interesting looks there. Maybe even a guy that can cover Travis Kelce one-on-one. So, interesting pick for the Chargers there, and that brings you finally back onto the clock here, Tom.
With America's team, no less. Well, this is quite simple for me. I've stayed pat as the Cowboys. I haven't made any moves, and I have a Jerry Jones prospect here, Mike, who's just going to absolutely have him lick his lips, and that's going to be Guyton, the big tackle from Oklahoma. He goes to the Oklahoma Old Boys academy here and pulls out a rather large but proficient tackle, and Yeah, and talk about pass protection. He didn't allow a single sack in his senior year. That's ridiculous, and it's exactly what the Cowboys need to fill the void of Tyron Smith, and just build things from that way out. He's yeah, I mean they're absolutely thrilled he's fallen to them here.
And it also means that you can keep Tyler Smith at guard as well,
Yeah,
who was originally a tackle that you drafted further down, and he's turned into a world-class guard there with Zach Martin. So you keep those two in at guard, and then you put Guyton on the outside, and hopefully, from a Cowboys perspective, you don't miss a beat.
no,
I think it's fair to say he's a little bit more raw than some of the tackle prospects that have gone above him, so they'll need to get him coached up. But I can absolutely see the logic there, though. That's great value at 24 for me.
it is. Yeah, I made a mistake as well. I thought Jerry Jones was an Oklahoma alum. I forgot he's an Arkansas alum.
He's a Razorback.
Still similar geographical kind of vicinity there. So
yeah. Well, just over the state border there from Texas. Go over to
well, he's from Texas as well. There we go, hometown Manor, Texas. So
from Manor, Texas. There you go. Get him back over the Red River here. Back into Texas. Go Pack, go here. Now they're not particularly generous here with these needs for the Packers, saying they need a guard and a tackle. I can see that maybe Bakhtiari is getting a bit older, and obviously, you can always look to upgrade your offensive line. It says safety is a need here. True, you let Xavier McKinney go, but he wasn't that great anyway. That's why you let him go. And I think you can find safety in the second round in this draft. DeJean is much more than a pure safety. That's why he went earlier. So I think you just keep it simple here if you're the Green Bay Packers, and you address your defensive line need with a big, powerful end here in Jared Verse. And he can really help you get after some quarterbacks here, get after Jared Goff, get after Caleb Williams. He's a real effort player, plays with tenacity against the run. Prototypical frame there, 6'4", 260 pounds. Again, a player that will feel a little unlucky to have fallen this far down the draft. I think he might get picked a bit earlier than this in real life, but his lack of real twitch and speed and bend have probably hurt him in our eyes a little bit, Tom. But the Dayton, Ohio prospect here, Jared Verse, gets a crack at it in Green Bay.
Yeah, that's excellent value for them there. Again, with the Cowboys, you can say the same thing for the Packers. They've just taken the best player left on the board at that position, and they're pretty happy with that. Not making any moves to complicate things. So I like that a lot for them.
And they continue the trend of taking first-round defensive players, and they've established that trend. I think they've had 8 or 9 in the last 10 years, defensive first-rounders. So, well, I mean, doesn't really make us think they'll suddenly switch that mentality now and go offense. So, yeah. Okay. Bucks at 26. You've got a few options here. Got some nice options for the Bucks, actually.
Yeah, let me just have a look here, see who's left. Yeah, okay. Yeah, so for me, there's a bit of a drop-off. I know they need running back, tight end, center, guard. Do they need a center that bad? Goodness, I thought their center was an all-world center. This is where my lack of Buccaneers knowledge will come in.
They had that. The lad that was there when Brady was there. I forget his name now, but I think he's had injury issues.
Oh yeah, he's gone. Yeah, the lad with the ginger hair. Yeah. He might be out the league. He's not even on their depth chart. Yeah. Okay. So they do need a center. Raheem Morris would love a corner here. I'm just thinking, ooh. Yeah.
Are there any
Jackson Johnson is higher on the board, so I'm going to take the center here as the best player that's left on the board. Because they absolutely need one. They built through the offensive line during their heyday here, the Bucks, and they need to go back to that and keep building that way. So this is the best center, the best pure center prospect on the board. Had a wonderful, excellent size and had a wonderful career there at Oregon. So I think he can do a lot and help them kind of control things the way they want to. Though.
Interesting. Physical. I mean, you want to continue to run the ball, especially with Baker Mayfield at quarterback. He played excellently last year, but I think, if I recall, I think they really struggled to get Rashad White over 4 yards a carry. I think it became a bit of an issue for them.
Yeah.
So that makes sense. Try and bring some physicality back. Continue to play defense. Throw it outside to Mike Evans. So yeah, you can see the logic in that. So it's you again. You've got a couple of picks in a row here, Tom, with the Cardinals and the Bills, respectively.
I'm glad. This works out nicely because I'm going to give the Cardinals. We have a need here in the defensive backfield. I'm going to give them my third-rated cornerback of the draft, which is Kool-Aid McKinstry here. Send Kool-Aid out to the desert there to go drink, and nice. I think that there will be debate between him and Arnold, but as you know, I'm a lot higher on Kool-Aid. They need a pure corner prospect there to try and lock down a side, and he can do that. Concerns over his 40 time, but no concerns over play speed for me. Really understands how to play the game as a true outside corner, and I think he's got a good career ahead of him there in that Gannon defense.
Yeah, and I saw a lot of Gannon, obviously, when he was with the Eagles, and I think this longer, rangier corner, they saw how that worked with Slay and Bradbury. I think that fits his system a bit better than the smaller, sort of more nickel size of Terry and Arnold there. Although you would ideally like a bit more ball production from Kool-Aid, but
yeah, that was only 2 picks in his college career. So yeah, a little to be desired there. But we'll see how it pans out. I think he's an excellent tackler. So that also bumps him up in my books.
Okay. So
the Bills
leaves the Buffalo Bills, as the great Kevin Cade would have said. May he rest in peace.
Yeah.
Sky Sports NFL viewers will know what we're talking about there. What would you like to do with the Bills, Thomas? I mean, there is an obvious player that some people, I'm not saying you should take this, but I'm just saying there is a knee-jerk reaction player on the board for them. What do you think?
Yeah, it just makes too much sense. I think they need help with a defensive back, but I could see them maybe going Arnold there, but I'm going to give them the best receiver left on the board. I think your 5th receiver in the class, and that's A.D. Mitchell there from Texas. A wonderful addition for Josh Allen there.
Yeah, no, brilliant. And it's one diva receiver for another. Move on from Diggs onto Adonai Mitchell. So I mean, natural talent is right up there. He's just on natural talent alone, he's up there with those big 3. The problem with him is there's the effort, the want to, a little bit of mystery over leaving Georgia when he did. Maybe not really wanting to compete there, heading off to Texas. I think Joel Klatt in his mock draft was saying it's just because he wanted to be near his daughter, but I'm not quite sure where he's pulled that from because I haven't heard that reference by anybody else in draft media. I think there is a little bit of a shadow cast there. I don't think that ended on the best of terms. And I think he's a bit of a difficult character. But if in an offense like that, where Josh Allen is not going to take any nonsense from him, you get to your route depth, you run the route you're supposed to run, or you're not on the field for Josh Allen would be what I would imagine happen there. So he either does that or he doesn't play. And I think that'll be a great environment for him to flourish, and down the field production with Josh Allen should be excellent for him. A much bigger target than Stephon Diggs as well, which makes life a bit easier in those frigid conditions up there in Buffalo.
Yeah, nice.
Okay, well, look, I had like a myriad of players here that I could have gone with the Lions that I had sort of psychologically geared myself up. I thought, interior offensive line, we'll get a kneecap biter. Defensive end, we'll get just a big thumping 4-3 defensive end to play opposite Hutchinson. But the reality is, in this situation, the Lions can't believe their luck. Terry and Arnold is still there. They still have a dire need on the back end of their defense. They took an Alabama Crimson Tide product last year in Branch to play as like a nickel safety. They've got another one here, some would argue, but I think they'll try him outside first. 6 foot 196 frame there is not official. He's shorter and lighter than that in at the combine, but I think they'll try him outside first, and then if he ends up in one of those hybrid positionless player setups like we talked about earlier with the Chargers, DeJean and Derwin James, they could do the same thing with Branch and Arnold. Cause some issues there in the NFC North. So I think the talent here, you can't pass up this talent. What is probably a top 20 talent in real life, we've allowed to slip down here in this exercise. So I think they just make stick and pick and make an obvious one.
Yeah, I agree. I think if he's up there, they probably gamble on Kool-Aid at this pick. To be honest, they've shown they like Alabama players a lot in the past. Yeah, for me, he's not an outside corner. He's going to be a hybrid slot safety, move him around kind of guy. But yeah, like you said, I'm sure they'll try him there. I think his coverage skills aren't the best that I saw, certainly. So playing him more down the middle helps with his strengths, which are tackling and being able to diagnose and blow up plays in the backfield. So I think that will be his role, and the Lions will love that. They'll love the physicality he plays with.
And that also then frees Branch up to play more centre field and go ball hawking. If you can, to be honest, and you can rotate them, so you make it look like make it look like Branch is doing that, and then you run him out into the middle of the field and vice versa. So I think it does give them some flexibility if Terrion can't go on the outside for whatever reason as a rookie.
Yeah.
So the Ravens are here.
Cool.
They've got some needs. I don't think. Oh, it's you picking. Thank God, because I didn't know where I was going to go with this. I just don't know if it's Wiggins. They're tight at 175 pounds.
Not at all, Mike. And lucky I've got this nailed on. I'm going to run this pick in. One of my favorite players in the draft. It's going to be big Darius Robinson from Missouri.
Oh yeah, that's such a Ravens pick. I'm glad you've had time to think about this, because I would have panicked and picked the wrong player there.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's in the 60s on the board here. Yeah, no, he's a first-round player. He's almost 300 pounds at defensive end, and he can play the run and pass rush. And the Ravens have so much fun moving him all over the place. Part of this legendary Missouri defense. And yeah, I think the production's there, the physical traits are there. There's just an absolutely nailed-on Ravens pick for me.
Really interesting pick there. Great pick. I have seen this mocked there, but I totally forgotten about it. It's a great call by you, this, because who did they lose?
Yeah,
they lost Madubuike at defensive tackle, and they lost Clowney.
Yeah.
They lost Clown. They lost a bit. They lost a big edge, and they lost a 3 technique in free agency. Darius Robinson can play either at that size, and he has done for Missouri in that prolific defense in the SEC. Makes all the sense in the world. They just sit here, the Ravens, like they do every year, and hit a double right down the middle. Get onto second base, and this guy will play in the league for 8 years, and they won't look. And then you get to see Darius Robinson versus Mims on the outside in the AFC North next year.
Beautiful,
big fellas.
Yeah, no, that's great. That's already gonna be fired up, that matchup.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, cool. I think this is pretty well set up. I mean, I'm just going to refresh my memory on the tackle class. So the 49ers, I heard Nate Tice over at The Athletic. He worked for Kyle Shanahan in the personnel department at Atlanta. Shanahan wasn't the head coach, he was the offensive coordinator. But they had to pick offensive linemen for Shanahan to watch film on. And they said, what kind of players do you like? And he sort of said, well, I like anybody really. And you look down the years at who they've played at tackle. They've played a myriad of different players at tackle. So I don't feel like they need a tackle here. So I think that was a bit of a misdirect there. Sorry, I didn't mean to do that. But
I thought you were going to give them a Morgan out of Arizona there.
So I think they could do that, and that's why I wanted to talk about it. But I think in this scenario, Nate Wiggins is there with the best pure cover skills in the NFL. Probably not as physical as the 49ers would like, and he's not going to come up and tackle. But they do have a bit of a need on the back end of that defense. Is Charvarius Ward, Mooney Man Ward? How long's he got left?
Oh,
Probably
who
a couple
knows?
of years. He's
Yeah.
getting up there in age. They've got the boy from Oregon. The nickel corner. Oh, I've forgotten his name now, but he's playing in the nickel for them. They could do with an outside corner, probably
Yeah.
with the best pure cover skills, other than Quinion Mitchell in the entire draft. So I'm going to say Nate Wiggins heads there with all 175 pounds of it.
Yeah, 173 pounds, I believe, is his combine number. We'll just clear that up. You know my feelings on Nate Wiggins, but alas, I won't put a dour mood on that. It's a sensible pick there for the Niners.
Right. Well, let's wrap this bad boy up then with none other than the world champion Kansas City Chiefs. Come on then, Thomas.
Yeah,
What do you think?
well, it's got to be a receiver for the Chiefs.
Woo.
You can't ignore that position. All the good tackles are gone. Like maybe you look at Morgan, but it's got to be a receiver, and it's a different strokes for different folks' job here. But I think Andy Reid likes Xavier Legette here and what he can potentially get out of him. The Chiefs are in a position where we can take a flyer on someone who's only had 1 year of production and use him as a better version. I mean, immediately he's a better version of McCole Hardman, Richie James, and Kadarius Toney combined. So I really have no qualms getting him in there and getting him on some end arounds, getting the ball in his hands. And yeah, if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. But as I said, we're at that juncture where we can take a gander on a receiver and try and get some pace and physicality at the position there because it's been pretty dire the last few years.
Yeah, it's not going to let me click on Xavier Legette, but we touched on him in our receivers episode. I'm maybe not as high as some people are on him. I think Brett Coleman at Bootleg has him maybe in like 8 or 9 receiver range, which is a lot higher. I think I had him 15, um,
Yeah.
15 or 14. But he's he's a talent. He is a precocious talent. And he's a very good athlete, strong physical player. Will get down the field, which the Chiefs have missed a little bit over the last couple of years. I think slight reach there for me, very slight, but as you said, they can take a chance of a flyer here. And all the good DBs went off the board. All the good tackles went off the board, which were really the big needs in my mind for the Chiefs, other than receiver. So yeah, just sit and stick your favorite receiver here, and you made a really great case for why Andy Reid's going to love Xavier Legette, and probably, to be honest, get more out of him than anybody else would, taking him this high.
So. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be annoyed to see my boy Rakestraw fall to us there and us take a gander on him, keep him in state. But I'm not sure the league's as high on him maybe as I was. So I think that's the smart move there.
Okay, so this is the summary of the first round. We're not going to go back through it pick by pick, but is there one out of your picks, Tom, that you really loved and one that maybe you'd like back?
Yeah, I'm not sure about like back. I think maybe. Ooh, I think maybe Fatanu there at 10. I don't know. The problem is all the receivers are gone. So I was kind of bound there to take a tackle because they really need a tackle. But yeah, it's tough. But then on the flip side of that, number 6, I was really pleased with that because I think they absolutely need that there. They need a tackle there. Take Joel that high. He's just so far above the others. So I think those two, yeah, they kind of shaped that run on the tackles we saw. And yeah, I was probably happy with 6 and I was with 10. And how about yourself?
Well, you know, with my Eagles hat on, obviously being able to get up there to 13 and get Quinion Mitchell is a great result. I don't know how he will do that. I think he might move up, but I think he'd go up for alignment of either variety rather than the corner. But that's what I would love to see. That's what I would like to see us do. If I'd really love us to have gone up there and got Troy Fatanu, which was my plan, but you robbed me of that. I also my real favorite pick is the Bears being able to get Odunze at 7. I think that's a brilliant move for them and would set them up for short, medium, and long-term success there in Chicago. It makes all the sense in the world.
Yeah,
and then
I like your trade up from the Eagles because I've seen Nate Wiggins mocked you far too much for my liking.
Yeah, no, that's not. He's not our type. I don't think he's our type. I could be wrong about that, but I don't. We've done that with Sidney Jones in the second round. That like lighter,
yeah, You got to have someone who can tackle proficiently.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, I agree. One I would like back is pick number 13. I'm not sure the Raiders would have made that trade in real life.
yeah,
I think
yeah.
that really put them in a bind in terms of being able to get back up and get Penix. So I think in real life, I think if they love him and all of the word on the street is they absolutely love him, I think they're going to have to just sit there and take him at 13 rather than get cute and try and take him in the
Yeah,
20s. But
I think
it's
so.
all
Yeah,
there
'cause, I
for
mean,
us.
yeah, I mean, what the Rams at 19, they need a quarterback. They could, if he's still there, they might pull a trigger on that and sit him. If the injury is such a concern, they'll let him get healthy. Um, so that is an interesting one. Yeah, you're right. I can't see them trading out of that unless it's for a huge bevy, and then
Unless they go up. That's the other thing. Would they give up that haul? I didn't know I don't know who would be willing to accept that trade on their roster to go up and play in New England. But if they can
no.
convince some guys to go and do that and they can give up 3 first-round picks or so, I don't know. Maybe they'll get up to 3 and get Daniels, but I don't
But
know.
I really liked your pick for them in the end. Latu was a perfect fit for that. I mean, if they get him, that's such a win. Even if
That
they don't,
front is fearsome, man. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think as always, it's probably my favorite uh, exercise of the year doing this. It's always a pleasure doing it with you. So I think we've done well then. Well, until next year, I think we're probably all wrapped up, aren't we? Any final thoughts?
No, just looking forward to draft time now. And then, yeah, I think we might do a recap episode. Obviously, over summer, we'll get our season win totals in. Always a fun one. You and me will pick some college teams we like on the over under wins, as well as NFL. So, yeah, I think that's what our schedule is going to look like.
Brilliant stuff. All right. Well, thanks, mate. And I'll speak to you on draft night.
Yeah. All right. Go well.
Go well. Oh no.